If you can't stop thinking about him even when you try, there's a reason. And it's not the one you think, because this isn't just a memory. It's not just attachment. And it's definitely not random. Something is still active between you. You wake up and he's already there, not physically, but in your mind. His face, his voice, a moment you thought you had already let go of. You tell yourself it's over. You try to move on. You distract yourself. You stay busy. You push it away. But in the quiet moments, he comes back. In a song, in a dream, in a sudden wave of emotion that doesn't make sense. And the more you try to stop it, the stronger it becomes. So, here's the question that changes everything. What if those thoughts aren't only coming from you? What if something deeper, something unconscious is still connecting you? Carl Jung believed that the human mind is not isolated, that beneath what we see there is a shared space where emotions don't just exist, they move, they echo, they reach. And when you think about someone with real emotion, you don't just remember them, you activate something. Because when a woman can't stop thinking about a man, something begins to shift. Not just inside her, but inside him too. He may not understand it. He may not even be aware of it. But suddenly, he feels something. A thought, a pull, a restlessness he can't explain. And this is where it gets interesting. Because the more intense your thoughts become, the more they start turning into something else. Something that goes beyond memory. Something that starts influencing what happens next. In this video, you'll discover the 3 things that start happening to him when you can't stop thinking about him. And by the end, you may realize something unexpected, that this connection isn't really about him. It's about what is still alive inside you. The first thing that starts happening to him is something he can't explain. He starts feeling you, not in a clear way, not in a logical way, but suddenly you begin to appear in his inner world without warning. A thought that comes out of nowhere. A memory he didn't choose to revisit. A feeling that doesn't belong to the moment he's in. At first he ignores it. He tells himself it's nothing. Just coincidence. Just his mind wandering for no reason. But it doesn't stop. Because when you think about someone with real emotion, you're not just remembering them. You're recreating them inside you. Every image you replay, every moment you relive, every emotion you feel again, it gives that person presence in your mind. And the more consistent it becomes, the more intense it becomes. And when something becomes intense enough, it starts to move. Not physically, but emotionally. Carl Jung believed that beneath our conscious mind, there's a deeper layer where emotions don't exist in isolation. A place where what you feel can resonate beyond you. So, when you think about someone deeply and repeatedly, you begin to activate that connection in a way that goes beyond simple memory. And this is where something shifts inside him, because he may be going through his day completely focused on something else. And suddenly he feels something interrupt him. A subtle heaviness, a random curiosity, a pull he can't explain. It doesn't feel strong at first. It's almost easy to ignore, but it keeps coming back. And the more it returns, the harder it becomes to dismiss. Sometimes it shows up as restlessness. He checks his phone without a reason, opens your profile without planning to, thinks about texting you, then stops himself. Other times it shows up as emotion, a sudden nostalgia, a memory that feels more vivid than before, a strange sense of missing something, even if he doesn't fully understand what. And the truth is, he doesn't consciously connect it to you, but something in him recognizes it. Because before someone reaches out, before they take action, something has to move inside them first, and that movement is almost always emotional. This is why it often starts quietly, not with a message, not with a clear sign, but with a feeling that doesn't seem to belong. Let's make this real. There's a woman who hadn't spoken to someone in months. No contact, no messages, nothing. But every evening, without forcing it, she found herself thinking about him. Not obsessively, not with desperation, just consistently. She would remember small things, the way he spoke, the way he looked at her, the way certain moments felt, and over time those thoughts became emotional. They became softer, deeper, more present. At first, nothing happened. Days passed, then a week, still silence. But something was changing, just not where she expected. One night, out of nowhere, he opened their old conversation. He didn't plan it. He didn't even know why he did it. He just felt like looking. The next day, he thought about texting her. He even typed something, and then deleted it. Not because he didn't care, but because he didn't understand what he was feeling. And later that night, he dreamed of her. Not clearly, not perfectly, but she was there. And when he woke up, but that feeling didn't disappear. It stayed with him. This is how it begins. Not with action, but with sensation. Because before someone moves toward you, something inside them has to be activated. Body is the part that most people don't realize. Not all thoughts create connection. It's not just about thinking of him. It's about how you think of him. If your thoughts are filled with anxiety, fear, or urgency, that creates tension, and that tension doesn't pull him closer. It creates resistance. He may feel uncomfortable without knowing why, distant without choosing to be, because what reaches him is not clarity, it's pressure. But when your thoughts are calm, when they come from a place of acceptance, of quiet emotion, of inner stability, something changes. The feeling becomes lighter, clearer, easier to receive. And instead of pushing him away, it opens something inside him. He feels safer, more curious, more open to what he's experiencing. He may still not understand it. He may still not act immediately. But deep inside, something has shifted. He starts feeling you. And once that feeling is activated, it doesn't disappear easily. Because now, you're no longer just a memory in his past. You've become a presence in his present. The second thing that starts happening to him is something you can't ignore. His behavior changes, and not in a way that makes sense, in a way that confuses you. One moment he feels close, almost present, almost like he's about to come back into your life. And then suddenly, he disappears. No explanation, no clarity, just distance. And that's the moment where doubt begins. You start asking yourself what you did wrong. You replay conversations. You overanalyze every detail. You wonder if you imagined everything. But the truth is, this shift is not random. It's emotional. Because once he starts feeling you, something inside him wakes up. And when something wakes up, it doesn't always bring clarity. Sometimes it brings conflict. There's a part of him that feels drawn to you, not logically, not intentionally, but deeply. A pull he doesn't fully understand, a curiosity that keeps returning, a feeling that something about you is not finished. But at the same time, there's another part of him, a part that resists, a part that remembers what it felt like to lose control, to feel too much, to get hurt, to open up and not know what would happen next. And these two parts don't work together. They pull him in opposite directions. One part moves him closer, the other forces him back. So what you see is inconsistency. He watches your stories, but doesn't reach out. He checks your profile, but says nothing. He types a message, and then deletes it before sending. And from the outside, it looks like confusion. But from the inside, it feels like pressure. Because he's not just reacting to you, he's reacting to what you make him feel. And that feeling is not always easy to hold. Carl Jung described this kind of inattention through the idea of the anima, the part of a man that connects him to motion, vulnerability, and depth. The part that doesn't think, but feels. And when that part becomes active, it changes everything. Because suddenly, he's not in control the way he used to be. He starts feeling things he didn't plan to feel, thinking about you when he doesn't want to, remembering moments he thought were gone. And if he's not used to facing those emotions, he pulls away. Not because he doesn't care, but because he cares in a way that makes him uncomfortable. This is why his behavior becomes unpredictable, not stable, not linear, not easy to understand, because he's not acting from logic, he's reacting to emotion. And emotion doesn't follow clear rules. There's a man who hadn't thought about someone in months. Everything in his life felt under control, predictable, stable. Until one day, something shifted. At first it was small. A random thought about her while he was doing something else. Then it happened again and again. He tried to ignore it, told himself it didn't matter, that it was just his mind going back to the past. But the thoughts didn't feel empty. They felt alive. And that's what unsettled him. Because it wasn't just remembering. It felt like something was pulling his attention. So, one night, without really thinking, he opened her profile. He told himself it was just curiosity. But he stayed there longer than he expected, scrolling, observing, feeling something he couldn't define. The next day he thought about texting her. He even wrote the message. Simple, casual, nothing too exposed. But before sending it, he stopped, closed the app, put the phone down, and told himself not to do it. But that didn't make Kathy feeling go away. That night he couldn't relax. Something felt unfinished. Something felt open. And instead of moving toward it, he stepped back. This is the pattern. He gets close, then pulls away. Not because he wants to confuse you, but because he's trying to manage what he feels. And the more intense your thoughts are, the stronger this dynamic becomes. If you think about him with urgency, with need, with emotional pressure, he feels it. Not consciously, but emotionally. And when that pressure reaches him, it creates tension. And when he feels tension, he creates distance. He pulls away to protect himself. But when your thoughts are calm, when there's no expectation, no emotional force, no need for an outcome, something changes. He doesn't feel pressure. He feels space. And in that space, he moves closer. Not because he's forced, but because nothing is pushing him away. This is why sometimes the moment you stop trying, he reappears. Not because you stopped caring, but because the energy changed. The pressure disappeared, and what was blocked starts moving again. But this is also where illusion begins, because when someone moves closer and then pulls away, it creates a shape. You start believing it means something deeper. That he's coming back, that he's realizing something, that this is leading somewhere. And sometimes it is, but sometimes it's just emotional activation, unresolved feelings, unfinished energy, a connection that hasn't fully closed, not necessarily a future. And this is why it's so important to see clearly, because his behavior is not a promise. It's a signal, a reflection of what he feels and what he feels, of what is pulling him toward you, and what is holding him back. So, instead of asking why he's acting this way, ask yourself something different. What is being activated inside him and inside you? Because this connection is not just moving him, it's moving you too. And once this push and pull begins, it rarely stays hidden. It expands. It becomes visible in ways you don't expect. Not just through him, but through everything around you. The third thing that starts happening is something you don't just feel. You start noticing it. Not only inside you, not only inside him, but around you. Because once emotionally active, it doesn't stay limited to thoughts or feelings. It begins to influence the way you see things, the way you interpret moments, the way certain details suddenly stand out. You hear his name in a conversation that has nothing to do with him. A song plays and the words feel like they describe exactly what you're feeling. You open your phone and something reminds you of him instantly. You think about him. And then something connected to him appears. At first, it feels like coincidence, just random moments that happen without meaning. But when it keeps happening, something shifts. You start paying attention. And the more you pay attention, the more you notice. Carl Jung described this as synchronicity, not just coincidence, but meaningful coincidence. Moments where your inner world and the external world seem to reflect each other. But this is where you need clarity, because not everything you notice is a sign. Sometimes, your mind is simply more focused. When someone occupies your thoughts, your awareness adjusts. You become more sensitive to anything that reminds you of them. Details that you would normally ignore now stand out. Your brain starts connecting patterns, giving meaning, trying to make sense of what you feel. So, what feels like something meant to happen can sometimes be perception becoming more active, not destiny, but awareness. At the same time, not everything is just in your head, because there are moments that feel different, moments that don't carry anxiety or urgency. They feel calm, clear, almost neutral, but meaningful. And in those moments, what you notice doesn't pull you toward him. It shows you something about your emotions, about your state, about what is still open inside you, or what is finally closing. This is the difference most people miss. They think every sign means go back, all this is meant to be, but often it means something else. It means understand. Understand what that connection was, what it gave you, what it changed inside you, what it revealed about the way you feel, the way you attach, the way you hold on. Because not every connection is meant to continue. Some are meant to activate something, to bring something to the surface, to make you see something you weren't seeing before. And once that happens, the signs don't lead you back to the person, they lead you back to yourself. This is why sometimes you notice everything, but nothing actually happens. No message, no return, no clear outcome. And that can feel confusing, because it creates the illusion that something is about to happen. But in reality, something already did. Internally, emotionally, something wooed. Something shifted, and what you're noticing is not a signal about him. It's a reflection of that shift. So instead of asking, is this a sign about him? Ask a different question. What is this showing me about myself? Because the moment you ask that, your perspective changes. You stop chasing meaning outside, and you start understanding what's happening inside. And when that happens, something becomes very clear. The connection is no longer controlling you. You're understanding it. You're seeing it for what it is. Not just something that pulls you towards someone else, but something that reveals something deeper within you. And that's when everything begins to change. Because what once felt confusing starts making sense. What once felt like something you needed to follow becomes something you can observe. And what once felt like it was about him starts bringing you back to you. And this is where everything changes. Because after all the thoughts, all the feelings, all the signs, you start to see something more clearly. This was never only about him. It feels like it is. It feels like everything leads back to him. Your thoughts, your emotions, the way certain moments affect you. It all seems connected to him. But when you look deeper, you begin to realize something. What you're experiencing is not just a connection with another person. It's a connection with a part of yourself. Because every time you think about him, something inside you becomes active. A memory, a feeling, a desire, a wound. Something that didn't fully close, something that is still asking to be understood. Carl Jung believed that relationships are mirrors. They don't just show you who the other person is. They show you who you are when you're with them. How you love, how you attach, how you hold on, and sometimes how you lose yourself. So, when you can't stop thinking about him, the real question is not, why him? The real question is, what incident is still active because of him? Because sometimes what feels like love is actually attachment. Sometimes what feels like connection is unfinished emotion. And sometimes what feels like destiny is simply something that needs to be seen, felt, and released. This is why the thoughts keep coming back, not to pull you toward him, but to bring your attention back to yourself, to something within you that hasn't been fully processed, something that is asking for awareness. Because once you see it clearly, something shifts. The intensity begins to soften, the need begins to fade, and the thoughts start losing their control over you. Not because you force them to stop, but because you understand them. And understanding changes everything. Because now, instead of being pulled toward him, you begin to return to yourself. And this is the turning point. Because when you return to yourself, you stop chasing what you think you're missing. You start recognizing what has been there all along. Your clarity, your awareness, your ability to feel without getting lost in it. And from that place, everything becomes simpler. If he's truly meant to be part of your life, he will come back in a way that is clear, without confusion, without inconsistency, without this constant push and pull. And if he doesn't, then this connection was never about keeping him. It was about waking something up inside you, something that needed to be seen, something that needed to change. So, the next time he appears in your mind, don't fight it. Don't push it away. Just observe it and gently ask yourself, what is this showing me about me? Because in that question, there is clarity. In that awareness, there is peace. And in that shift, there is freedom. Because the truth is, the person you can't stop thinking about is not always the one you're meant to be with. Sometimes, they're the one who helped you come back to yourself. And when that happens, you don't lose anything. You gain something much deeper. You gain yourself. If this video made you see things differently, subscribe to the channel and like the video.